Hello everyone and welcome back. Okay, since the technical mishaps of the last tutorial I have restarted the game and I've played through with similar tactics and similar ideas. The observant among you will notice that the year is considerably sooner. I believe we ended the last game in 1075, although that may be my attempts to play through it a little bit more to try and salvage what the heck had happened. But essentially we have a trade post over here in Suomi, as we had before, and we now have one in, oh no, Jylland? Either way, it's under construction, but that's obviously where we initially intended to put it. There are a few differences, obviously. The King of Sweden remains the King of Sweden as he was before. His throne, however, is a little bit more wobbly than it was last time. Whilst the initial rebellion by the heathen was again crushed, unfortunately we now have, as you can see, two claimants. Fortunately, these factions don't seem to be particularly powerful, but the fact they exist is, a bit worrying in and of itself. Still, King seems fine, and I believe that most of the claimants are still Catholic. So long as there's not a Norse resurgence, we should all be good. Okay, so I'll show you a few other things as well. Council, we've got my heir on the council. This time getting a wife for him was much easier. His first wife died, but this new one is quite good, decent-ish stat line. Stewardship could do with being a bit higher, but to be honest, she makes up for it in other respects. So that was good. The steward is not particularly brilliant, but that was a political appointment. I had to appoint a few of the patricians to positions on the council in order to get them to like me enough to pass the small feudal tax laws. Since then, a lot of them have been kicked off the council. They are not happy about this, but sucks to be them, basically. The law got through, that's all that's needed. We have a very good marshal, who is the same one as before, I believe, and I believe he's also, converted to Catholicism. Good for him. And the spymaster is alright, and the court chaplain, I'm going to be switching the court chaplain around because we have that guy. But why haven't I done that already anyway? Let's have a look here. Well, this guy's not landed, so let's appoint a new court chaplain. Research cultural tech. So I believe that's now changed a little bit. It's now more to do with the spread of technology, but you do still obviously get that small chance for a great philosopher to turn up. Great philosophers, you pay them an amount and they give you a significant boost to your tech. Proselytize, I have absolutely no idea, has replaced convert to populace, and it does exactly the same thing. The name has just changed. As far as I can tell, it does the same thing. And here we also have improve religious relations, which is the same thing again. I might send this guy to improve religious relations, as spreading cultural tech isn't all that important at the moment, and my relations with the Catholic leader could be a bit better. Aside from that, laws, as you can see, we have feudal taxation at the small level, which is nice. Technology, I'm not going to be buying heavy infantry because we've nearly got it and it's increasing on its own anyway, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. Same with these others, construction and church infrastructure, they're getting pretty damn close to completion anyway, so I'm not that bothered about spending that money, or spending those points even. The military is, again, not bad. Intrigue, nothing that we need to be too worried about. Factions, but we can deal with it. Religion, not a huge problem. And the Republic. My heir is slowly starting to build up respect. His position on the council affords him some of that. I've given him some honorary titles as well. I believe he's currently a high judge, so that helps him build up prestige. So, hang on, designated heir, high judge, and he's a chancellor. So all that helps him build up his prestige, which means that it should be easier if he ever needs to win an election. Now, 3 out of 3 trade posts. So we've got the one in Gotland, the one in Suomi, and the third is the one in Jylland. So right now, I need some more male family members to try and up my trade post limit. Fortunately, I have a lot on the way. I have been very fruitful in this game. And in a few years, 10 years in fact, this lot is going to start coming of age. So in the meantime, what can I do? If I can't build trade posts, what else can I do in order to try and further my capitalist empire? Well, it obviously depends on the situation, as things do in Crusader Kings 2. In this case, I'm thinking upgrades to the house is probably in order. The mansion upgrade allows you to increase your levy size and tax income, which is quite nice, because obviously that tax income is income that's quite difficult for the enemy to take away from you. There are others, for example, I think, where are we? There's ones that increase your trade post limit unless they've been modded out. Secluded Shrine to increase piety. Fortified Vault again, that's nice for extra tax income. Wine Cellar increases fertility, I do like that. Palace Gardens, a bit more prestige, that could be quite useful to increase my score. That room, Boyer. Okay, so I think that the trade posts have actually been modded out, or patched out for the mansion, possibly to place greater emphasis on the family. So what we're going to do is save up some money and just see what it needs to be spent on. So, we have no clear plan at the moment, apart from ensure that my children survive to age. Okay, so that there is something's changed with the factions. Okay, Ring claims that there's a better steward than Nut. So at 17, yeah, he deserves it. Okay, so now I've got to assign my new steward. You see, that was one of the political appointments. This guy was the previous steward. So it's quite annoying when you've got to put people into certain positions, just even though they're not particularly good for them. So I could collect taxes to try and build up the money, but because we're not actually gunning specifically for money at the moment, economy tech might be a bit better. But to be honest, given again that technology now relates a lot more to spread than it does to speed, I'm going to go with collect taxes. So other things we could do are improve the quality of the trade posts. Oh god, so we've got another list, another bloody change in the factions. Alright, so one of the factions is disbanded, that's good. We could upgrade these trade posts a bit. Again, it costs about 140 each. I think that's modified by distance as well. So if we check Gotland trade post, 144 there as well. Okay, so that's just confirming the trade post in Gieland, however you pronounce it, has been completed. So these are now our two trade zones. Now, this one's quite secure. It's got the post here and the post here. So someone's going to need to create 3 trade posts to take that away from us. I don't think they're going to bother. This one is a lot more delicate, and as it's right next to someone else's trade post, namely Gildhusen, they're probably not going to, it's quite risky. So my next priority should probably be to try and get a trade post up in one of these areas so that this sea is sealed up. On the other hand, if somebody else starts to construct trade posts here in the Gulf of Heliogard, or over here in the lower Gulf of Bothnia, then obviously that is going to cause me problems, because it means I'm not going to be able to link them up to my existing trade posts. Sorry, my existing trade zones. And you're much better to say have one large trade zone made up of 3 trading zones than 3 separate trade zones. So for example, I'd make more money if this was here. The only reason I put that there is to try and stop Gildhusen from breaking out into the North Sea and creating a trade post along there. So it's risky either way, and in the early days of this DLC, where you didn't have the trade post limit, it was basically just land grab, land grab, land grab. And to an extent, land grabbing is still important. However, it's nowhere near as important as the actual strategic positioning. So there is no right answer. You can try and contain your enemies, or you can try and maximize your own profits and channel those profits into screwing with your enemies. There's no solid answer. This is just one way of doing it. So don't assume that this is the best playthrough. This is just the way I'm playing it now. My wife is pregnant again. Bloody hell. We're going to have no shortage of family members. It's actually probably going to be quite difficult to make sure that they all get paid. That can be a genuine problem, so intra-family warfare is quite common in republics. because if you need to prune away some of the male family members to try and get the wages bill down, unfortunately you can't just fire them. Okay, there's a feast. I will travel to the feast. This is something you may not have seen before if you've always been playing as an independent ruler, but if you have a liege, the events that they take affect you. So, for example, if they use the Hold a Feast event, as we did quite frequently when we were playing as Duke Murkad of Ireland, who eventually became King Murkad of Ireland, and is now a petty king, I believe, in the latest patch update, we get a sequence of events. So the event affects us, but we get our own separate little string of events. So what I'm probably going to do is upgrade these trade posts. It's either upgrade the trade posts or upgrade the mansion. And while the mansion I think could be quite useful, you can see that a lot of this stuff requires this mansion upgrade to be built first. There we go, trade post limit +3. So it just had to be put there. Phone is going, but that's absolutely fine. I can take that call later. So there you go. I don't know why that wasn't coming up, why it only comes up when you're hovering over the icon there. But that will increase the trade post limit. So that is now my new priority. Building that mansion unlocks all these upgrades, which are very useful, and gives me more trade posts. More trade posts means that I can try and keep these families down. If after about 50 years they're really struggling to expand, then your lead is so large that you don't need to worry so much about them anymore. As long as you hold on to the patricianship, or the Grand Mayorship, whichever is the case, or Doge, you know what I mean. The top dog, as it were, in your republic. Okay, so we've had the Philosopher event. We can gain 50 cultural tech points. That's actually not to be sneezed at. So we'll take the gold hit for that. There's still nothing that we can purchase with our cultural tech, unfortunately. But, on the other hand, we are getting closer, so that's nice. Church infrastructure. So let's have a look here. Temple tax increases. Spread. Could go for that. That could be quite useful. Construction, local build time modifiers aren't really all that useful. I'm probably going to hold out for trade practices, because this other stuff can creep up on its own. I've not even really got around to building level 1 upgrades yet for most of these places that I own. So consequently, constructing going through the research to unlock the level 2 stuff doesn't make much sense at the moment, so I might as well hold on to the points. And again, you mustn't forget the upgrades for your cities as well. Oftentimes it's more cost effective to upgrade things in your city to get more money than it is to get excellent taxes, than it is to upgrade your trade posts. So don't forget about those upgrades. The trade posts are really useful, but they're not the be all and end all. And we need 140 to upgrade that. But right now, I'm pretty far ahead of this lot. Hang on, here's his trade post. He can get more trade posts than me. And the base limit is always going to be set at 3. So if I knock off one of his male family members, I can... so let's check his family tree. Adult male family members. So there we go. You can see the offspring here, child, but if we go to his previous wife who died, he has 2 sons who are now of age. So let's take a look at this fellow. Fairly low intrigue score. It makes up for his wife has quite a good one though, so that's probably going to be a problem. Let's see what we can do. 42.8% initial plot power. 20% there brings us up to just over 60. Can we splash a bit of money around to get it the rest of the way? Now the reason I'm looking into this is because I want to try and limit the amount of trade posts that he can get. So let's have a look at this fellow and see if bribery can bring him on board. He's actually my marshal, so sending a bit of money his way is beneficial to me as well. Because it helps if people in your court and your vassals have a positive opinion of you. It means they're less likely to plot against you. So he'll now join the plot. And with the other person in the plot, who is at 20%, we should have the 100% that we need. 63. So that was the 20%er. Oh, just short. Maths was never my strong point. One of the courtiers has been annoying my wife. Okay. Baron Tengil. Oh, why didn't I have this just now when I needed a positive opinion modifier, you bastards? Okay, so we've got an opinion change for 2 years either way. Oh, I can afford to take a negative opinion hit with my wife. Yeah. So we need another member of this little party. And again, we're looking for ones that are about even. So this fellow is one of them. Splash some money around. He's still not interested in joining. And try one more. Holmar, Bishop of Roma. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so no. 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 Oh, hang on. Now, why isn't she willing to join the plot? Because at positive 3, negative 2. Let's just send her a quick bit of cash and... Interesting. Oh well, never mind. At 95% we might still get something, but either way I'm not going to splash any more money around with this. I've wasted a lot of money already. And I say, it's I shouldn't have really spent that much money on this, because at the end of the day it's just there to annoy him rather than actually cause him problems. Pretty quickly they start getting so many family members that trying to limit the size of their trade posts becomes awkward. Because obviously you get offshoots of the family start breeding, and then those offshoots start breeding, and before you know it, you're up to your bloody necks in your enemies. And you've got to start separating their necks from their heads. Okay. Okay, so this mayor is converted to Catholicism, that's good. The more... Excellent, more money. That Chancellor is proving his worth. Okay, so 177 gold is quite a nice pile. It's nowhere near enough for us to construct the mansion upgrade. But, on the other hand, we might want to consider upgrades elsewhere. So we could get a bit of extra tax income +1. Merchant port here increases the trade value. So, let's have a quick look here. Current base total, blah blah blah. Trade zone bonus +37. So, what's the trade zone income to trade zone value? So, increasing that by an extra +10 could be quite nice, as it would be an increase of, well, 117, 10, an extra 10 on that. Possible. How about the one over here in Gilland? You can see that the trade post, the value there is 64 because it's only got that trade post in it. So that's not too well. It's got other cities in there as well, but the extra trade post over in this trade zone makes all the difference. So constructing a merchant port here could actually be quite useful, as it would represent a pretty substantial increase in the value of that trade zone. And you can see here that the trade zone in Gilland is only producing about 5.1 at the moment, whereas the trade post here in Suomi is producing quite a bit more. Ooh, decisions. You also see that the trade post in Suomi is producing tax at a rate of 10, the one at Gilland is only producing tax at a rate of 5.12, so a merchant enclave can improve tax income. Or we could build a garrison. The only problem with garrisons is that they don't really do that much for the actual production of money. They just help to raise a little bit more military. And as I said earlier, military in the Republic basically usually means mercenaries. I'm going to leave that money for now, as there's nothing that really grabs me. If the enemies were starting to get their third trade posts up already, I'd probably be a bit more worried. But as it stands for now, I don't have too much to be worried about. I can afford to let the money pile up a little bit, especially because it gives you a bit more prestige as well. As patrician, a larger treasury gives you prestige, so keeping the money in the bank isn't necessarily a bad idea. This is especially true when you can regularly get random events that just knock 50 quid off your total. By chance you learn well chat. Okay, yep, I'm currently got the improve intrigue ambition, so I've got that event chain now. Okay, I need to pick a guardian for this child. That's arrange betrothal, which I don't really want to do yet. This Holgmar guy's stats are so good, I'm sending most of my children to be trained with him. And so I'm toying with the idea of changing these laws around a bit, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to up feudal taxation as well here. A lot of these guys are not happy about the fact that I fired them from the council. This guy, in fact, is really pissed off about that fact. But I've got my extra intrigue. So my intrigue is now at 9, which is very useful. That should, in fact, yep, 101 plot power, nice. So, new ambition. Oh, I could try and become the King of Sweden. I think not. I could improve my marshal. Could do with it. Have a daughter. Not particularly useful. Let's instead go with... Let's go with marshal for now. Just because of the prestige gain more than anything. And the fact that it's at 6 already will make it a lot easier to get up to the required 8. After that, we'll probably try and go with become steward for Sweden, because that would that's the next logical step. It's the one that I'm most likely to achieve. I'm not aiming for the crown of Sweden at this point, not by a long shot. Okay, so we've just been through quite a dead period. Very little has been going on. King Bottle the Blind here keeps declining the King of Sweden's requests that he become a vassal. We've had a few basic standard random events. No one's building any more trade posts, and the whole thing is just plodding onwards. So I've built up enough money now to afford the mansion, so I'm going to purchase that. That'll give me a bit more tax, which will be quite useful. Trade post limit is the main thing I'm after it for, so it's going to take a long time to construct it though. But that said, it should be worth it. I've dipped below 50 gold, which is not something I usually like to do when playing as a Republic, but I'll excuse it this time. Beyond that, this person's joined our plot as well. Let's check to see if there's any more plotters. No one. Okay. So we've got another Catholic convert. Who's this guy? Yeah, this guy's part of Sweden, so... Okay, I've got a child to steer his energy elsewhere. Let's try to steer his energy elsewhere. Oh, he's become slothful. Wonderful. Oh well, he's quite a young one anyway, so... There's a time to beat that out of him yet. And you can see my income here is quite good, which is the main thing in the Republic. You can see a breakdown here in my domain. Feudal tax isn't doing too well because my vassals, well, hate me, partly because of the feudal tax, but mostly because of the various unpleasant things I did in order to get them to pay their feudal taxes. I've got my Chancellor trying to do damage control, but I don't think that's going to work particularly well. So in the meantime, all I can really do is keep things ticking over. Stenkill of Sweden has declared King Stenkill first of Sweden's war to revoke Vassland from Jarl of Upland. Alright, so looks like there is a civil war. Now we could try and get involved in this to make a little bit of money. Ooh, Pope alarm. Ooh, this one likes me quite a bit. I'll take that. Yes, I could get involved in this to try and raise a little bit of money through sieges and so forth, but I think I'll leave it for now. I'll join it if it looks like the war's not going to go the king's way, but to be honest, judging by the numbers, I don't think that's going to be a problem. So this trade post has been sieged, I think. Yes, they do have a tendency to fall very quickly when attacked, do trade posts. Still, it's not mine, so I'm not that worried. Well, it's mine insofar as it belongs to one of my vassals. But, what's this then? I hate this image because when I see a cart I always think of the bloody assassination attempts. Okay. Excellent. Baron Tengil's opinion of me has improved, even though his opinion of me was already pretty high. Thanks anyway, I suppose. Okay, so I'm going to splash a little bit of money around upgrading my capital. City walls always good. The new fort level system helps to limit your places from being pillaged. You can see it here. We'll go into more detail on that when I actually have cause to check up on it. I've not read up on all of the changes in 1.10 yet, but as they are many, but I will do, and we'll check up on that as time goes by. Ooh, an enemy fleet. I hope they're not coming to try and invade me. If they are, I shall be most upset. I suppose it doesn't really matter. The king's so close to winning this war. There we go. Well, congratulations. You've managed to revoke a title. It's frequently more than I can manage when I'm playing as the bloody feudal lord. Stenkel's transfer vassalage to... Isn't that the person who he just nicked it off? Oh, I don't know. Oh, so this person's Norse pagan. There. Might want to consider bumping a few of these off. How are those factions doing then? Not too bad. What laws do we have in Sweden at the moment? Cognatic elective. Ruler in each one lower rank. Unfortunately, that doesn't include me. Nobody likes the patricians, or the grand mayors, or the doges. Let's see if there's a bit more money that can be splashed around in these holdings. City walls, always good. I'll wait a bit until I've got more than 50 gold. Church fortifications, eh? Tax income. Me likey tax income. Right. How's that mansion coming along? Okay, get in there. We'll be finished in 79. When the mansion's finished, we'll probably draw this episode to a close. And, oh, hang on. We've got people with their third and fourth, the third trade posts up. Doing quite nicely out of them as well, by the looks of it. So if we zoom out, it doesn't look like they're threatening any of my posts. But of course, one has been built here in Sodom land. So we've just got to be cautious of that. That one's not mine. One has not been constructed in the Kattegat Sea there. So what I'll probably do is try and construct another one to border here. In the meantime, this plot just became a bit more important, as I don't want anyone having more trade posts than me. Having the same is annoying, having more than me is something that I would really like to avoid. So, just need an edge. And the only one who seems even remotely bendable to my will is this fellow, who has declined before. I already sent him a gift. He's not going to set an invite to court. Educate child, no. Request excommunication, no. Come on, there'll be something I can do to improve my opinion of this guy. I can give him one of my children to educate, I suppose. unfortunately, I can't give it directly to this fellow. I can only give it to his liege or one of the others. Alright, so that's not going to be that's not going to work. We're just going to have to hope either that, or we can try and pay someone off him. 54% chance of success, 29% chance of discovery. Give it a try. Excellent. Okay. So now that should have brought... Yeah. You can see Henjum now only has 3 out of 3. On the other hand, Gildhusen has now picked up another family member somewhere. So let's have a look here. Okay, so he doesn't have any direct children of his own, which means that he's most likely got that from who's in court. Sigurd Gildhusen, Håkon Gildhusen, Sven Gildhusen. So let's have a look here. This guy's also his marshal. I think that's probably an offshoot of the family, you know, a cousin or something. Oh, much easier. We should be able to get this one through sheer numbers. Problem as well is because a lot of these are in my courts and a lot of my higher ranked vassals are not particularly fond of me, as you've seen. There's not really a huge amount I can do about it right now, and there's nothing I really intend to do about it. They dislike me, but my position, I think, is strong enough that I don't need to worry too much. As you can see, it's negative, a lot of negatives, but the court in general favours me. So, between that and the fact that I've got a pretty good spy master set to scheme, I'm reasonably sure that I'll be okay. So, who's this guy? Oh, he's not one of mine, so I don't care if people are plotting to off him. We're already over 100 with that one, so that should help bring things down a bit. What I might do, if I've got this many positive opinions for intrigue at the moment, I might embark on a little bit of a killing spree and try and trim the other families down a little bit to prevent them from becoming problematic in the future. Because obviously the more people they have, the more bloody annoying it is for them to... well, the more bloody annoying they are, because the quicker they then breed further. So long as you can keep on top of the trade posts, it's great, but if I can keep their trade post limit down, it obviously means that they can't compete with me. And if they can't compete with me, well, I win. By default. We're getting there here. Title loss is still just the Republic, so that's not a problem. I'm going to build a merchant port over here, I think, improve the value of the trade zone. The reason I'm going to construct a merchant port there rather than here is that this zone is more secure. If one trade post from someone else gets constructed here, that trade zone vanishes, and so a lot of the benefit is removed. Okay, so a war is kicked off here, and looks to be King Harald versus King Stenkel. So Prince Olav of Norway. Okay. So this prince has a claim on the county of Dal, and the King of Norway is at war with the King of Sweden over it. And unfortunately, the King of Norway has considerably larger forces, and I don't think that I can help all that much. I can contribute 1,000 men. Well, over 1,000 a bit. On the other hand, they have 9, 10, 11. They have nearly 11,000 men to our 5. Yeah, this is going to be a slaughter. The only way I can really help here is by hiring some mercenaries. Now, this seems as good as any time to discuss mercenaries, as we never really got to discuss them in the basic tutorial. Mercenaries cost an amount to engage their services, so you need to pay that amount flat up, and then you've got to pay them monthly as well. So hover over your incomings and outgoings here to see how much you've actually got coming in per month. So my monthly balance at the moment is +8. So I can afford to continue to pay mercenaries provided that they require less than 8.05 a month. So you can see a lot of these require quite a bit, especially the larger bands. In order to really make a difference here, I'm going to need to almost double the number of troops that we have available. I'm going to need a band of at least 5,000. And as you can see here, the Company of St. George is probably one of the best for that. But the drain on my purse strings is going to be huge. And after paying out the initial 360, I will not be able to afford to support them. This lot are a bit cheaper at 300, but requiring 17 a month. I'm still going to need 17 over 16 months. So, sorry, 17 over 60, so round it to 15, say 4, so about 2 or 3 months tops, because you want to make sure you've got a month of safety. And that is no time at all. That'll be just enough time to get them onto the mainland. And then, yeah, that's not going to work. This lot, a little bit more realistic, at 3,000, and they're actually probably going to be enough to not even the odds, but at the very least ensure that the war isn't over decisively. And if it isn't over decisively, it could well just drag. And if it drags, then, you know, we may win through just attrition. So there's a possibility. This lot are about the same price for the same number of troops. In fact, I think the companies are pretty much identical. So it's a risk-reward thing. I was saving this money because I wanted to spend it on a trade post as soon as the mansion was finished. But on the other hand, I want to make sure that the King of Sweden doesn't lose his territory because he's my liege, and as my liege he protects me. If he can't do that job properly, I'm in trouble. On the other hand, I could try playing the political game and just making sure that no one wants to invade me. After all, this guy likes me enough. So in this case, I'm going to leave it. There's not much I can do without expending so many resources. It's not worth it. If I had a decent size of levies, then to be completely frank, I would join in this war just because it's not... Losing a county isn't a huge thing, but how many individual counties do you need to lose before it's a huge thing? You know? So, it's not something I relish the idea of. But at the same time, losing a single county isn't going to be a huge setback for the king. So, the Great Mansion's been constructed. We've got plenty of gold in the coffers. We've got plots going against Guildhusen to try and lower their trade post limit. And my own trade post limit has just increased by 1. So you may think, well, hang on, didn't that mansion give you an extra 3? Well, yes, it did, but because you always have a base limit of 3, there was no effect there. The limit doesn't start at 3, it can never be lower than 3. So your main modifiers are a base of 1, the palace, and the adult male family members in court. So ultimately, if it's lower than 3, it defaults to 3. That's what I'm saying. If it's higher than 3, it's higher than 3. So you kind of get diminishing returns a little bit in that respect. But at the same time, this also gives us a nice big extra stack of tax income as well, which should be just about enough to pay my family dues at the moment. So let's get the next trade post constructed. Where will it be positioned? Well, we want to try and secure Kattegat here. So I'm thinking probably Holland. Is that Holland? Yes, Holland. 263. Västergötland. 269. Viken. 262. but unfortunately we can't build in there at the moment because he is currently hostile to my liege. So it's Halland or Västergötland. 263, 269. We'll go with Halland. So construct the trade post there. Bingo. So that's the next trade post constructed. I'm going to draw the episode to a close there. What have we covered in this episode? Well, we've covered the construction of your mansion and the benefits that that can bring, as we did in the basic line, but you've obviously now seen it. We've looked at trade post limits. We've looked at using assassinations to try and keep the other family's trade post limits down. And we've looked at the considerations as well as to whether or not to join a war, mainly the risk and the reward ratio. So we've covered quite a bit. Next week, of course, will be Kerbal Space Program Week. Kerbal Space Program Week we'll be looking at getting a rocket all the way to the moon. If you're not familiar with Kerbal Space Program, then I'd recommend giving the tutorials a look. They'll give you an idea as to how the game plays and what it's about. But for now, I'm Evis T, signing off.